Rue's 2024 New Year's resolutions. 1. Eat more treatos. 2. Learn how to open the treato jar with my paws. 3. Learn how to order own treatos from Bun Parents' metal box thingy. Hey, this is the Bun Mom Life with me, Jessie, and my 3 buns, Rue, Linus, and Timo. You may know us from our Instagram account, Little Hoppy Rue, and we're here to share with you our journey as a bun family. Let's hop to it! Happy 2024, everyone! We hope your holidays were wonderful and filled with lots of love and lots of joy. Over here, we've had a pretty busy time. We had 6 gatherings in total. It was also the first year after several years that we started hosting at our place again. With the pandemic and then with the grief of losing Linus and then Timo, it's really the first time that we felt a little bit more ready to open up our home again. And Bun Dad and I really loved having people over again. We loved the intimate gatherings. We loved filling our home with joy and laughter and meaningful conversations. So it was really nice to be able to do it again. And it was so nice for us to have guests over to visit Rue and play with her. When we move and have a bigger space, I'm really looking forward to being able to host even more. We actually drove past the site of our new home last week and saw that our home is up and built. The frame and the roof are done, so it shouldn't be too long now. And we are beyond excited to see Rue exploring this new place and learning how to run up and down the stairs because we're going to have 3 floors and a rooftop terrace. So seeing her going up and down and exploring this new place is really going to be a lot of fun, especially because Rue loves new spaces. I'm also a little bit worried that we might lose her somewhere because our condo is so small that there's only a few places and rooms that she could be in. But with the new place, she could be in any of the rooms of the 3 floors. We might need to put a tracker on her. Today, I'd like to share with you all about how our holidays were and how Rue enjoyed the holidays. As we said, we had a lot more visitors this time around and many new faces that Rue got to meet, as well as many familiar faces that Rue knows very well. One of Rue's aunties, who we will call Auntie J, very good friend of ours. Auntie J is very hands-on and really good with DIYing things. And she really enjoys DIYing toys for the bunnies. Ever since we first got bunnies, Auntie J has loved going online to see what toys were out there in the bunny world, and whatever captured her attention and sparked her interest, she would try to DIY a more affordable version using simpler materials, mostly cardboard. And it's quite incredible to see what she comes up with. So she's made chew toys for them, little cardboard hay trays that were designed in really creative and fun ways, like they may have a palm tree coming out of it that was made of cardboard, just different vessels to put hay in, and of course, for the bunnies, hay always tastes better when it's presented on a different platter. The exact same hay tastes so much more delicious in a cardboard box than from the hay bag. That's just how it is. So definitely Rue and Linus had a lot of fun with those when Auntie J had made them back in the day. And she's also made forage boxes that Timo got to enjoy too. And a few months ago, a little pellet enrichment toy. So Auntie J had seen online this toy that had 3 tubes attached on a rod, and you'd be able to put treats inside those tubes, and your pet would have to spin the tubes in order for the pellets or the treats to fall out of it so that they could eat it. And it's a way to keep them busy and keep them enriched. So Auntie J actually made a version using just cardboard and different bamboo rods, and it was quite impressive. Only Timo really figured it out and enjoyed playing with it, or at least had the patience to play with it to get all the little pellets. Rue was not into it. Rue doesn't like to work hard for her food. She is Queen Rue, and her food must be presented on an easily accessible platter. She does not have time to waste on those ridiculous toys that take up way too much energy. Just give her the pellets, okay? So that was her attitude. She literally sniffed it, looked at it. We tried to show her how to use it, and no, she just walked away. So Timo got the toy for the rest of the time until he played with it so much that he destroyed it. That toy was put to some good use. So thank you, Auntie J, for always keeping our bunnies entertained. It's so cool how many toys can be made with cardboard. Although, to be very honest, I do not have the patience or creativity or talent to DIY my own toys. So thank goodness we have an Auntie J in our life. It's fantastic. And this time around when Auntie J came with a group of our friends, she prepared a maze for Rue. She had seen on Instagram this bunny that was going through a maze to finally reach its bowl of food. And so she got the idea to DIY one herself. She got some thicker stock paper and also used Velcro, which was pretty neat. So after dinner together, Auntie J and Bun Dad went to assembling the maze. The cool thing is that it was designed to be able to be disassembled and reassembled in different ways so that if Rue gets used to a certain layout of the maze, we could always switch it up for her, just to keep her thinking and keep her busy. I know I mentioned that Rue doesn't like to work for her food, but she actually quite enjoyed this maze. And we were teaching her how to use it by sprinkling forage just throughout the tunnels of the maze and the paths. And she had a lot of fun going through the different routes and the different tunnels to find and eat as much of the forage as she could. And one of the cutest things that she would do is when she heard us laughing or giggling or just staring at her, she would stand up on her hind legs to peek over the maze to see what we were all up to. She probably was like, "What are these humans doing? Why are you staring at me? Leave me alone to forage, okay? You weirdos." She had a lot of fun, which was great. And because we can easily disassemble the maze, it works out really well in our tiny little place where we do have to disassemble it. Otherwise, it just takes up the entire space and she won't have much room to zoomy. But we love that we have this kind of enrichment toy for her. Super fun. Whenever guests come over, Rue loves it. She's super social, so she will come out to greet everyone. She'll sniff everyone out and give them boops. And of course, she's waiting for her snack and treato from each one of them. And it was so sweet because throughout the entirety of our guests staying over, she likes to stick around. So she'll sleep near us, she'll sleep near the dining table if we're seated there. She'll sleep by someone's side if we're sitting in the living room or on the floor hanging out together. She just loves being with the company. She's comfortable enough to even flop and sploot with everyone around and take her little naps, so it's really great to see that she loves hanging out with us when we have people over. I also think it's because Rue has a serious case of FOMO, fear of missing out, and she doesn't want to be left out of any kind of fun or any kind of gathering or attention. And she's always had this ever since Linus came home. If she felt like something was happening and she was in the bedroom and we were out in the living room or dining room, she would immediately run out to come see what's going on and to make sure she was a part of it. Whether it was us maybe giving attention to Linus or Timo, giving them a snack or giving them pets, Rue definitely had to be a part of that. She hated missing out. And it was really cute in the time when we had Linus because we would, for example, if Rue was inside the bedroom taking her nap or eating from her hay, and if we were out in the living room and Linus came up to us wanting pets or we were just sitting with him, snuggling with him, Rue would immediately run out if she sensed that, and she would smoosh her face right up against Linus's as if she was trying to meld her head into his, into one just giant head, so that she wouldn't miss out on any of those pets and head massages. And similarly with Timo, even though they were separated by a fence, any kind of attention that Timo would get, or if she even thought that something was going on, she would for sure run out if she wasn't already there and check everything out. So I also think it's this serious case of FOMO that encourages her to stay and hang out with us when we have guests over, just in case something amazing happens. And just to ensure that there's not a single moment that we're not paying attention to her, or that we forget that she's there, or that we forget to give her some snacks every once in a while because she's so cute. It must be nice to get treatos for just existing. Another funny thing about Rue and her case of FOMO is that even if she's super, super exhausted and tired and she was in the middle of her deep sleep, she would still run out in order to ensure she wasn't missing out on anything. So she'd run out and we would look at her and she would stand there with her eyes slowly closing and her putting in maximum effort to keep them open, and then they would slowly shut again. And she would again try to keep them open again to see and observe what was happening. Meanwhile, her body just really wanted her to go back to sleep. It cracks us up every single time. And when she was a baby, she would do this often, where she would be eating her hay because she really wanted to munch on it, but she was also super exhausted. So she'd just be falling asleep while eating her hay. Do your buns do this, if you have buns? Or maybe you humans do this. I have definitely struggled sometimes with severe hunger and severe exhaustion and tried to eat. It didn't work. Exhaustion always trumps hunger. Sleep wins. Whenever we have guests over, it's always a time to let Rue shine. So not only her sociability and her outgoingness that delights our guests, but also her tricks. So we always make sure to let her show off her tricks whenever people come over. And that includes some of her favorites like giving a high five, giving a kiss on demand, spinning around, walking on her back legs, jumping through hoops, and ringing the bell. Teaching Rue how to do tricks is really one of the best things we've ever done. I mean, I know it was something that really amazed us at the start. We had no idea that bunnies could do tricks. But sure enough, Rue was one who easily caught on to every single trick. We often only had to do it once or twice, and then she would immediately be able to remember the word and the associated action. Linus could do tricks too. He was a little bit harder to teach than Rue, but he was able to pick them up as well. Timo was always so high energy and hyper, and his whole focus was so zoned in on that treato, and he would get super excited about it that nothing else mattered. He didn't know what you were trying to tell him to do. He had no patience for it. He was just trying to get that treato. So with Timo, I think if we had had more time, we could have taught him a few, but in the limited time we had, I believe we were only really able to teach him how to turn. And that was not always 100% success either. That's okay. That's our sweet Timo. I also once managed to teach Rue how to stay, which was really neat, but I didn't practice it with her long enough that it really stuck. But for a short period of time, if I told her to stay, she would actually wait in her place rather than come and run over to get her treato. She's a smart girl. With the holidays and all the guests coming over, Rue did have an increase in her treatos intake and snacks. And of course, some of you know she had an advent calendar, which meant she had either a treat or a chew toy every single day. And we did store a lot of those treats in a jar to save and spread out for the next little while, especially because the advent calendar was supposed to be shared between her and Timo. So now it's just a ton of yummy yums for Rue. Too much. And even though we made sure to still limit her intake to half a treato or one whole one if it was small per day, she still was having more than she normally would. So normally before December, we'd give Rue a treat maybe once every 2 weeks or so. And that's because she got used to that with Timo. When it was her and Linus, we would give a small treat to each of them every single day, and it was no problem for those two. And then with Timo, because of his health conditions, we really were very careful with what he ate. Even though we're quite certain that it wasn't about what he was eating that was causing him issues, he had chronic issues and diseases beforehand, we were still really careful with his diet, just in case. And we didn't want Rue to get a treat and Timo not to be able to get one, so we ended up limiting it for both of them. and it was fine. Rue didn't mind, at least she didn't tell us that she minded. Maybe she minded in the beginning, but then afterwards she got used to it, so it was okay. But then December came along and then holiday season, and suddenly she's getting so much more than she normally did. So last week we actually found one of her psychotropes that was bigger than normal and she didn't eat it. And that was a sure sign that it was way too many treatos and snacks, even though they were veggies. So if you're listening and you're not familiar with bunny's poops, there are two types, at least that I know of. And one is the usual one that we always see, the little round golden nuggets that are dry and basically just hay. And then they have other poops called psychotropes, which are softer and they look like a cluster of grapes. And these are the ones that they actually ingest again because it's good for their health and it has lots of probiotics. I know, it sounds gross, but normally you don't even see them because they eat it as soon as it comes out. But the reason that we sometimes do see them would be that the bunny decides not to eat it. And one of the reasons that they're not eating it could be potentially because they've had a high intake of proteins or sugars, and so their body doesn't feel like it needs to eat the psychotropes because it already thinks it has enough. At least that's what I've read. But again, remember, I'm not a certified vet or professional of any kind. So if your bunny is experiencing a high amount of psychotropes or mushy poops, definitely go take them to the vet. In our case, we're quite sure that that's what happened for us because we know Rue's health condition and her body quite well. And so it's just evidence that December was gluttonous. Way too much yummy treats. Even though it is not more than what we had used to give her a while back, but I think it's because she got used to having those treats at a minimum. So even though this is not a health concern, we're still definitely taking that note and cutting a lot of her treatos, which we already planned to do anyways. Her one treato a day was really just for the month of December because it's the holiday season. Now we cut back. And Rue got so used to the advent calendar that the few mornings after December 25th, she was waiting for her little surprise. And what we did in that case was to give her some of her allotted pellets already, or give her some fresh hay, or some forage, and she got over it pretty quickly. She's good now. Sometimes our guests who come over bring little gifts for Rue too, and it's always so cute and so sweet. She'll get a little pack of cilantro or a little pack of basil, and it makes us and her so happy. She also got a Christmas present from her grandma, who's my mom, which was a new bunny bed. And she loves it. So Rue has her original bunny bed, which her grandma also made for her, and it was the first time that my mom made a bunny bed. So it was like the first edition, and now this one is like the upgraded, new and improved version. My parents and my brother had come over to our place for brunch a few weeks ago, and she saw the original bed that Rue was lying in and saw that it had kind of, deflated quite a bit because it was used so much. So the cotton cushion filling was kind of flat, and there really wasn't much padding left. I mean, Rue still loves it and still uses it a lot all the time. But my mom wanted to make her something new. So she made a new bun bed for Rue that has thicker cushioning, it's softer, it's cozier, and Rue loves it. She immediately went to it and lay down. And so we keep that one out in the living room, dining room area now. And we keep her original one under the bed so that every time she sleeps under the bed with us, when we're asleep, she gets to cozy up in a bed there too. And that original bed is going to stay with us forever because it was Rue's bunny bed when she was a baby. And then it became Rue and Linus's bed, and Linus loved it, adored it, and slept in it all the time. And then Timo really, really enjoyed it too, and it was his turn. So as long as it's still some kind of scrap of fabric and material, I think we're going to keep it. Rue still loves sleeping in it, and I think it's because it also has Linus's smell and Timo's smell still on it. So that's why I think she's also quite attached to it too. Rue got lots of pets, lots of snuggles and head massages from her new friends, from her old friends, and it was really, really nice to see her having a good time. For Bun Dad and I, we really did enjoy the holiday season. Some moments were definitely not easy, and we still always feel that heartache because holidays without our loved ones is always harder. And we missed Linus and Timo throughout it all and thought about them all the time and wished that they were here to enjoy all these wonderful moments together with us. But they were there in their own little way, and we could feel them in the love that we shared with our family and friends, in the love that we shared with Rue and the festivity of it all. And just going through our memories and our videos and seeing how we spent previous holidays with them, all of it still brought smiles to our faces. Despite 2023 being a year with plenty of heartache and grief, it was still full of many, many beautiful moments and wonderful memories. Despite the ache that we constantly feel in our hearts, we still smile whenever we think of our tippy-toe Timo and all his wild child adventures, and when we think of Linus Bear and all his floofiness and running around the Christmas tree. So even though there's that element of grief with every holiday that will come moving forward, every holiday is still more special than it ever would have been because we got to have memories with Linus and Timo celebrating those holidays with us. No matter how great the grief, it really doesn't ever overshadow the immense joy and love that Linus and Timo gave us. At the end of the year, I wrote them a letter in my journal, and at the start of this year, another letter, sent up to Bunny Heaven. I'm sure that this coming year of 2024 will be full of more adventures, more precious memories for us and for Rue. And we can't wait. We also can't wait to share all of them with you. So happy 2024 to you, everyone. And we wish you a wonderful year full of love and laughter, joy and strength. Our bunnies send you lots of boops. And if no one has told you today, remember that you are loved and you are cherished. We'll see you next time. Bye.